Hey Nick, it's good to see you in fine form there. I'm glad to see when you do a video on anything philosophical because, I still watch a lot of your other videos, but there's nothing there for me to respond to really. I take it all in, about the economy and stuff, and it makes me, well, it just confirms everything I already think basically, and thereby strengthens my belief in its accuracy. um, and its factuality. It makes me feel like I'm not just being paranoid or, um, apocalyptic, but that actually shit has already hit the fan and is probably going to continue to hit the fan. I actually got an email today from my financial aid office at my college, and it was a letter from Henry Paulson um, and Ben Bernanke about how they promise that I will have the funding will be made available to the student loan institutions for the following term, the next term. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, the I. What is it? Where is it? Why do we talk about it so much? And why are people so adamant about how they feel about what it is? Um, it's certainly not a thing in the brain somewhere. Um, it's a process, like you described. Um, any organism, let's just go with a human, begins as a single cell, um, fertilized ovum, sperm and egg, uh, in the case of a human, and then just that one cell begins to multiply asexually, or grow or develop, as we would otherwise say. So the cells multiply with the idea of a larger form in mind, and somehow they organize into, um, you know, a fetus and then a baby which is born. And all throughout this process, the organs, each one of them, are developing um, as cells differentiate, and the brain is just growing. Um, where's the I while this process is taking place? It's okay. The fetus is born. It's a child now. It's an infant. Um, suckling its mother's breast. The occasional cuckoo, but mostly just uh, you know not an I, right? So the child is almost ready to go to kindergarten. They're learning how to tie their shoes and how to brush their teeth and get dressed and everything. And well, are we quite sure if the I's there yet? I don't know. I mean, they know their name. They can recognize themselves in a mirror. Um, but do they really know who they are? Does anybody else? So they go through school for a few years, and maybe about fifth, sixth, seventh grade, they start to recognize that they are somebody because other people are starting to, treat them that way. Usually, they'll be a little self-conscious, they'll be a little unsure of themselves, um, and then after a few more years, there comes this moment of crisis where either you prove yourself or you're going to be stuck, you know, doubting and being told what to do by other people for the rest of your life. So, the adolescent either faces that moment and becomes an adult, or regresses and remains a child as they continue to age. Um, so maybe that's the crucial moment. If you succeed in this crisis, you gain your I, you gain yourself, um, or maybe you don't. I mean, I don't know. And who's to say? If you do gain it, could you lose it again down the road? I mean, so it's definitely not a thing in the brain. It seems to be some quality we attribute to our experience and to other people's experience and behavior that marks this passage through an initiation of some kind into their culture. Um, you know, the sketch that I just gave is very rough, and it applies to, I guess only myself. But it may be generalizable. So, if we're going to understand the I as a word that plays a role in a particular culture, then I think what you're saying, Nick, is basically right. I mean, what you're saying under the surface. I mean, I know you're just asking this question: what is the I? Tell me what it is, if we have one. It's true that any answer is pretty much absurd, because the answer always comes in terms of a particular cultural value. Like, I value free will because I want to be responsible for my actions and to be able to hold other people accountable for their actions and so forth. We believe in an I because we want to, not because there is one, right? But let's take a step back now. Let's try not to just react based on our values, but let's look at the philosophical facts as they stand. What does the word I mean, or what was it ever? Why did it arise in the English language or in any other language if it didn't refer to something significant? Well, it seems to refer to that which is invisible, or that which is behind the motion of our body. It is the identity or idea or form which guides our movement and the shape of our body. So even at the biological level, when that single cell is growing into this larger organism, it is thinking. It's following an idea. DNA is a language. Proteins, are speaking the language of nature, of of this. This is a protein language, and the language that I speak is a brain language. There's nature is just one language on top of another. See, it's not a machine though. It's alive. It feels. So the I, when it refers to something within us, is referring to something real. It's just not a thing or this fixed object which doesn't change. The I is, if it exists at all, is constantly in a process of actualizing itself over and over again. So it's becoming. And whenever we try to fixate on it or define it, we fail because it's kept on going. I mean, you take a snapshot and it's not there because it's not. An identity is not such that a snapshot would reveal it to you, because it's a moving thing, or not. It's a verb. It's not a thing. The I is a verb. It is our continual process of experience, of realizing our ideas, our goals. You cannot deny that certain things happen without your having foreseen them, but you also can't deny that you can decide to do something, and which all of that means is an idea is in your mind, and it motivates an action. You can't deny that happens. So the I is this cultural game that we play. I understand and agree with everything you're saying from that perspective, but from a more philosophical standpoint, the I as a general category, referring to the within, to our actual experience, as opposed to what our experience is of and about. When you turn inwards, you realize that there is some important aspect to that dimension which needs to be taken into consideration, such that you can't reduce this body to a deterministic machine. It's more than that.